Hi everyone. This is my first English book. It's called Authenticity Relationship Confrontation, and it is about embodied mindfulness in communication and conflict. So, what's it about? It's about developing a healthier relationship with conflict and confrontation. It's about what that could look like. It's about how advanced Buddhist practitioners perceive, experience, navigate, and interpret conflict and confrontation. The way I see it, conflict and confrontation are inherent to the human experience. You can't be human and not find yourself time and again in conflict and confrontation, especially with those closest to you. And according to Buddhism, that's just a fact of life, right? You cannot avoid that. You can only face it. And not everybody does, right? Folks have developed different strategies to deal with conflict and confrontation. And they can be, in a way, grouped in three modes of being in a relationship. And in the first mode, we ignore conflict. We pretend to live in these perfect relationships that are entirely harmonious and without conflict. And the price of that is, of course, a lot of avoidance and also a loss of authentic expression. And then there's a second mode. And in this second mode, we can't acknowledge that we are having conflicts. And at some times we find ourselves in confrontation. But we don't think that there's, how to say, an inherent wisdom to that. We still think that if we would get it right, we wouldn't find ourselves in conflict, right? We are still trapped into this delusion of perfect harmony, and we make that delusion our goal. But it's still a better strategy than strategy one, right? It's a better mode of being than completely ignoring conflict. And then there's a third mode. And in this third mode, we acknowledge that conflict and confrontation are just part of the human experience. And even more so, they are at the heart of functioning relationships. We need them so that we grow. We need them to deepen our relationships. And it is, in a way, through conflict and confrontation that we make our relationships work. And then the question is not anymore, how do we avoid conflict and confrontation? The question is, how do we manage them? How do we deal with them? How do we turn them into personal growth and a deepening of our relationships? And it is very much about that third mode of being that my book is about. It will introduce you to the way advanced Buddhist practitioners experience conflict, how they perceive it, how they interpret what they perceive, and how they navigate conflict and confrontation based on their interpretation of what they perceive. And in order to help you into that third mode of being in a relationship, to help you step into the experience of an advanced Buddhist practitioner, I will take you, in a way, on a journey through 5 key concepts you need to understand. These 5 key concepts are presence, space, contact, aggressive energy, and clarity. And I'm going to approach that in a twofold way. On the one hand, I will explain these concepts to you. And on the other hand, I will give you the opportunity to really step into the perspective of an advanced Buddhist practitioner and see conflict and confrontation through their eyes. And I hope that in doing so, you can unlock a completely new perspective on conflict and confrontation. A perspective that's very different from the way we here in the West tend to approach conflict and confrontation. So I buy my book. I think that, or it is my conviction, that being in relationship, really being in a relationship, being in contact, being in a relationship, is the most rewarding experience a human being can make. In a way, it's what life is all about. It's about being in relationship and being in contact. And it is my hope that by reading my book, you will step into or through a doorway that will lead you down a road of personal growth and a road of deepening your relationships, of making them more stable, more enriching, more rewarding. And I hope you have fun with it. So that's my elevator pitch.